Communication is all around us. It's when we speak, it's when we listen, it's when we look around us. Communication is the key competency for all managers and leaders to master, not only in your professional life, but in your personal life. Communication is what connects us to each other and what allows us to better understand those around us. Ernest Hemingway said, "When people talk, listen completely. Most people never listen." With that, my name is Bianca. I want to share a quote with you all. To effectively communicate, we must realize that we are all different in the way we perceive the world and use this understanding as a guide to our communication with others. By Anthony Robbins. Let's start our lesson with a brief history of communication. Keep in mind, this is an example of visual communication. We will discuss visual communication later in this lesson. Here we go.
Ground control to Major Tom.
I want to welcome each and every one of you to Lesson 9. Today we are going to look at how we can master communication. The objectives will include: why does communication matter? Key communication tools, and finally, present information effectively. With that, topic number 1. Why does communication matter? Did you know? Communicating well is one of the critical skills that 91% of 1,000 employees in a recent Interact Harris poll said their leaders lack. As leaders and managers, it's important to kick it up a gear and really invest in your communication development. This means you are taking control of the way you communicate and actively trying to improve it. Impact of communication. According to Study Guide, we can see that the impact of effective communication impacts the following aspects of the company. Motivation. Employees are more motivated when they understand what is happening. This will include communicating performance, goals for the week or the month. This also means communicating company changes and rewards. Accurate information. Effective communication leads to more accurate information. The company makes use of communication structures that lead us to more consistency. For example, centralized communication systems. We use centralized communication to help us ensure that everyone has the same message at the same time. There is more consistency in that message. Morale. Company leaders, managers, and staff are more likely to display higher levels of morale in companies with effective communication. Communication impacts people's understanding, motivation, and overall performance. Effective communication leads to consistency and improves the company culture. Team communication. When the company has effective communication, employees are more likely to use the communication culture and structures set in place. Employees can improve their teamwork by effectively communicating plans and what they need and what they are actually struggling with. Checks and balances. Managers and leaders have more of an effective checks and balances system when they can effectively communicate these systems. The key is to communicate strategies, goals, and objectives. Then build checks and balances to control the process. The checks and balances will help the managers and the leaders understand if the employees understand the communication or if they need more support. What happens when there is ineffective communication? We are going to look at 4 aspects. We see uncertainty. Employees do not know which source of information to believe. For example, when employees get conflicting information, this can lead to a lot of uncertainty. Following up with conflict. Due to uncertainty, we see a lot of conflict. Employees can feel frustrated and they do not know who to trust or which information to trust. This can mean that people are more likely to fight or mistrust the company. Poor teamwork. Employees are less likely to collaborate and work as a team when they cannot effectively communicate with each other. Some employees can feel protective of the information and they would not like to share it with others. The team as a whole will suffer due to the lack of communication and information sharing. We see gossiping. Gossiping or rumors can start as a result of employees filling the gaps. So when employees do not have a clear idea of what is happening, some may feel the need to add their own opinion. This can lead to gossiping, rumors, and this can lead to a team not trusting each other. So we can see there are a lot of issues when there is not effective communication set in place. According to Uprise, there are 5 types of communication. We are going to explore each category in more detail in the upcoming slides. First off, we see verbal communication, non-verbal, written, visual, and listening communication. Before we get into the slides, top tip. This is a key point to make notes and evaluate your understanding of the communication types and how you can improve. Let's start. Verbal communication. Explained. Verbal communication is when we orally communicate. This can be done when we speak and we deliver a message. Examples. This is when you speak to your coworkers, or this is when you have a one-on-one meeting with your boss or staff. It is the language that we use and our tone of voice. Rule of thumb, things to really keep in mind when verbally communicating. Avoid using words like yeah, or words that sound really unsure. Always be clear and concise. Don't speak for the sake of speaking. Make sure that you are conveying a message. Speak with confidence. Avoid dragging out a meeting that could have been done in 15 minutes to 30 or 60 minutes. Employees will dread these meetings and they will not be engaged. So how can you improve? Well, communication is ever evolving. It changes as we learn, as we gain experience, and as our emotional intelligence grows. The best way to improve your verbal communication is to ask for feedback from your manager or from your team. Let's look at non-verbal communication. Explained. Non-verbal communication is when we communicate without using words. This will include your facial expressions, your body language, and many more. Examples we have is your posture, your facial expressions, and your eye contact. Rule of thumbs, things to keep in mind. Be aware of your facial expressions when listening to others. Avoid crossing your arms as it seems defensive. Eye contact is essential when you speak to someone based on their culture or background. This does not apply to all cultures, so make sure that you understand what is needed within the culture that you are working. So how can we improve this? Work on your first impression and understand the culture you are working in. Read the room to see how people are perceiving you. Finally, make adjustments based on the person you are speaking to mimic their behavior and ensuring that the person is comfortable. Let's look at written communication. Explained. Written communication makes use of writing down words to communicate your message. Examples will include emails, memos, reports, manuals, and many more. Your rule of thumb will be check your grammar. Make sure your communication is to the point. Make sure the wording is easy to understand and fonts matter. Make sure to stick to neat documents that people want to read. Best ways to improve will include: you can make use of several online apps to help guide you with your grammar and tone. Make sure to proofread all of your documents before sending it. You can even ask for a second opinion. For example, ask a coworker to check your email or manual before sending it out. Visual communication. Explained. This is when communication is presented in a visually stimulating way. We see the communication with our eyes. Examples will include PowerPoint, videos, charts, pictures. Rule of thumb is, simplicity is key. Someone should look at the visual communication and understand the message or the content. Stimulation should occur. People take in visual communication a lot quicker than a boring sheet of typing. Use the correct colors for your message. For example, did you know that according to India 100, McDonald's uses red and yellow for the following reasons? Looking at the positive psychology qualities of red and yellow in relation to the fast food industry. Red triggers stimulation, appetite, hunger. It attracts attention. Yellow triggers the feeling of happiness and friendliness. When you combine red and yellow, it's about speed, quickness, and people are happy. So how can we improve? Well, you can invest in your skills. Take a course in visual communication, for example, a PowerPoint course. Learn about the different uses of color. Just a little sneak peek coming up at the end of this lesson. I'm going to give you guys a quick look at how can you use different colors and what each of them means. Listening communication. Explained. Active listening is a key part of communication. In order for communication to be effective, we need more active listeners. This means that people are actively taking in the information. For example, paying attention, check your attitude, and make adjustments. Rule of thumb for listening will include: avoid speaking over others. Wait 3 to 5 seconds before responding. Focus on the speaker. Shut everything else down. For example, don't look at your phone or computer. Shut it down before you actively speak to someone. Get in the correct mindset. Be open to hear the other person. Don't make up your mind before someone starts speaking. This means you are disadvantaging yourself and not actively listening. So how can we improve this key skill? It takes practice. This is a long-term skill that needs to be developed. Practice active listening. Count 3 to 5 seconds in your head before responding, and take additional courses and read up on this subject. With all of that in place, let's take a few seconds to ask a question. Which one of the communication types would you like to focus on most? Take a few seconds and review your notes. You can select more than one category of communication to set up your improvement goals. For example, you want to improve your verbal and written communication. Thank you all. With that, let's have a look at the communication models we have. We will see 3 types of models that we will explore. We will discuss each one in more detail and add visual communication to each model. Here we go. Linear model, transactional model, and interactional model. Let's have a look at the first one. Linear communication. The features will include: this is one-way communication. For example, we have a sender and a receiver. This will include sending out mass emails where there is not feedback. This is a very top-down approach. The pros will include: the same communication is used in the entire company. The management team has a clear vision and they are able to communicate it to everyone. So everyone at the same time will receive this message with instructions that they have to follow. But the cons are also real. This means there is no time for feedback and there is little improvement or innovation because the receiver doesn't have a lot of time to really process the information and give feedback to the sender. Next, we see transactional communication. The features will include having a sender and receiver, and again a sender and receiver. So this means this is very interactive for both parties. There are no tiers or levels involved. So both parties can send a message and also receive feedback. The pros are that everyone gets a say. The feedback is instant, so it's very, very interactive. But the cons are, direction can be lacking when there is too much feedback. So at times, people can forget to get to the point because they are more focused on giving feedback than getting the communication out. Interactional communication. The features will include having a sender, a receiver, a sender, and again a receiver. This is a slower feedback system. It works with both parties if they have a lot of experience. It creates a long-term communication system, and it works really well in very big companies. The cons are feedback can take very long. The feedback can also be anonymous based on the company. This is for a time when both parties can really take time to send and receive the communication. In big companies, the sender and the receiver may not even know each other. This type of communication can lack a personal touch as it only passes on the communication. A question I have for you all. Which model do you currently use in your team or your company? So again, we have 3 models: linear, transactional, and interactional. Let's take a quick moment and look at a sneak peek. Coming up in the next lesson, have you ever wanted to know more about managing different personality types? We are going to explore just that. We will look at introverts and extroverts, our own perceptions, and how we can manage our own bias. This is very exciting material to add to your managerial toolkit. Communication tools to use. Did you know, according to HR Technology, 57% of employees reported not being given a clear direction, and 69% of managers are not comfortable communicating with their employees in general. From these statistics, it's clear that managers, leaders, and the companies as a whole need to focus more on effective communication. Let's look at top communication tools and software. We have Workplace. Workplace from Facebook holds its own when it comes to integrity of their communication channels and approaches. The team communication software is made to enhance and streamline the communication between team members working closely together, and it strengthens the internal communication in general. Next, we have Fleep. This is a file sharing, task management, and messaging software delivered through a beautiful user interface. Fleep is a network just like Skype or Facebook Messenger that allows you to communicate with Fleep users or with other teams on Fleep. In addition to its communication features, Fleep offers a native task management feature, which is more of a rare find than most communication tools. Fleep is the answer for businesses looking for a digital workplace communication tool. Flock is one of the most robust communication apps. This communication app stands out with its chat module, which is designed to streamline and centralize communication from different groups and across different teams. So this is just a quick look at different apps and software that you can use within your company. This is just a general idea of what you can look for and the different features that companies and software is actually offering. So you don't have to invest a huge amount of money. There are a lot of options available. Let's look at the communication framework. A corporate communication strategy framework is a tool for planning, communicating with your employees, customer, suppliers, and investors. According to Small Business Corporate, this can also include how you use the framework to better build your understanding of the company. It enhances your reputation with the people whose attitudes and actions influence the success of the business. Let's look at a practical approach for internal communication plans. According to your thought partner, we are going to look at creating a situational overview. Map out the current state of the communication used by the company. For example, low employee engagement or collaboration. Then, determine your communication goal. Set the company outcome of what you would like to achieve and how you would like to use a communication plan to achieve it. Make sure to use your SMART goals when setting up these goals. Be specific and set your metrics and your hard timeline. For example, you want to improve employee engagement with effective communication plans that will lead to fewer mistakes, higher engagement, and less cases where employees don't want to be at work. Define your audience. For example, look at your employees and determine the best way to communicate with them. Think of the communication types, styles, and what you can add to the plan. Practical questions to ask yourself. What is the current mindset of your team? What is the mindset you want to create? How can you create a feeling that will last and result in change? Continuing on, develop your message. We will use the 5 W's and H to create your message. This will include what, why, where, when, who, and how. Make sure your message is clear and to the point. You want to make sure the message is easy to understand and will inspire change. Set up your strategy. Decide how you want to reach your goals and make your message a reality. In this step, also include the channels and tactics you will use. Channels, you can use face-to-face meetings, videos, emails, and so much more. Tactics will focus on your delivery and what you want to invoke when people see your message and how they will go about getting the work done. Measure your progress. Make sure you are measuring your progress against the SMART goals that you set. Track what you have done and what still needs to be done. Create a project tracker. Create a tracker that will include your SMART goals, your communication tools, the types of communication, and the tactics that you want to use. Set up who is responsible for what and add a timeline per action. This will be great to measure your success. Use the tracker to communicate your plan with your team and give everyone updates as needed. Let's look at topic number 3. Present information effectively. This is going to be a really fun topic. We're going to show you some good examples, bad examples, and I want you guys to really take note. Did you know, according to most studies, people's number 1 fear is public speaking. Number 2 is death. Death is number 2. Does this sound right? This means that the average person, if you go to a funeral, you're better off in the casket than doing the eulogy. By Jerry Seinfeld. With that, let's look at some good examples of communication and how we can improve. Here we see, according to 24 slides, this is a very bad example of a PowerPoint slide. We can see that there's too much text, very little use of images, the colors are very boring, and it does not engage the reader at all. So let's look at the same type of information, but presented in a different way. Here we can see the information in a new format. The information is engaging. It's a good use of colors, less reading, it makes use of images, and it's easy to understand. You want to read the information. So we have 2 examples, one good one and one that needs a lot of improvement. So let's look at a planning checklist. Presentation. You have to make sure that your information is clear and that you know what to present. When you are presenting a PowerPoint, you want to make sure your information is strong. So your intro and the outro is very impactful. Make sure you feel comfortable with each slide and that you know what the transitions are for the page. Delivery. You need to practice enough. Make sure that you have notes if you need them. Make sure that you are pacing yourself and that you are not going too quick. People will lose the message and interest if it is too quick or if the message is too slow. Appearance. So if you think back of those 2 drastically different examples I gave you guys, make sure it matches the needs of your audience. Make the correct use of colors and that you are engaging people with each slide that you present. Visual aids. Make sure that you have enough pictures, graphs, and that people are looking to see what is on each slide. So with that, those are my top tips for working on PowerPoint or displaying any communication visually. Focus on your presentation, the way you're delivering it, the way it looks, and make sure to use the correct use of colors and pictures. Now we're going to look at top public speaking tips. I know this is a common thing for a lot of people where they feel uncomfortable getting up in front of a large group of people. But according to the Harvard Extension School, we are going to look at the following top tips for public speaking. Know your audience. It's easier when you know your team. But when you have to speak in front of new team members or people, do your research. For example, you will present a lot of facts, information, and data when working with executives, but you might use more appealing language, slides when working with customers. Practice makes perfect. Take your time to really get to know your presentation. It's important to understand what you want to say with each slide. Then, make time to edit. You need to make adjustments on each slide to ensure you are presenting the message. Make sure of feedback. You can ask for feedback before your presentation or wait for feedback from the audience after the meeting. The goal is to learn and improve with the feedback for the current and the following presentation. Avoid reading. Avoid reading your slides or notes. The aim is to speak to the audience, make eye contact, and really engage with them. You can read notes and you can read key facts if needed. Grab attention. Try to grab the attention at the beginning and the end of the lesson. For example, use videos, quotes, statistics, everything you can find that will convey the message that you really want. Let's have a quick look at the effective use of color. Here we see black. Black is usually used for mournful, high technology, formal situations, or death. Blue is used to portray tranquility, trust, confidence, and security. Purple is used to convey royalty, wisdom, and mystery. Green is used for the environment, health, and insects. It also is used for nature. Red is used for passion, excitement, love, intensity, heat, and aggression. Orange is used for warmth, expansion, and to portray being flamboyant. So remember Module 2? It starts next week. I do hope that you've all gotten your places sorted. Have you secured your place already? Remember, time is running out and give yourself enough time to complete your course comfortably. Take out a 6-month or 12-month membership to achieve your goals. Shaw Academy continues to really commit to bringing you higher education at a lower cost. We frequently run specials where you can get as much as 50% off your membership. So make sure to contact your student advisor to discuss our offers and ensure you are signed up for your spot in Module 2. If you are just planning on continuing and finishing your professional diploma or building up your individualized curriculum and skill set, update your membership is super simple and it is just one click away. With that, it brings us to the end of this lesson. I would like to leave you all with this challenge. Evaluate your current communication styles and approaches. Truly note your strengths and weaknesses. Based on your weaknesses, set up a personal goal with timelines in place so that you can keep yourself accountable. Share the knowledge that you have gained in the lesson with your company and team. Truly build those communication systems. Before this lesson comes to an end, let's look at the progress that you have made. I want to congratulate you all. You've successfully made it through 9 lessons of Module 1. You are 1 lesson away from completing your first module. As we end this lesson, I want to leave you all with this. The most important thing of communication is to hear what isn't being said. By Peter Drucker. Communication is both speaking and listening. Effective communication will separate the great leaders from the mediocre ones. Just a quick note, in Lesson 10 we will focus on personality and personality management. Please make sure to join that lesson in order to complete your first module. Thank you all.